One of the hardest things for people to carve out is time to get ready for an interview. And I think that people that forego that exercise are really kind of shooting themselves in the foot. And what do I mean by that? If you think you know that every single job in your position or in your organization is exactly the same, right? It requires the same type of personality, same exact kind of skill sets, you probably maybe run a robot factory, right? Because if everything's the same, every person has to be the same, everything is a carbon copy of everything else, then it seems to me like it's factory, right? Most businesses aren't like that. Most businesses have pieces of their organization where they need a specific type of strength here, and they need a different strength here, right? If you're interviewing someone, you should know exactly what that particular position requires. And here's some things that you should contemplate. Who's the team that person's going to work with, right? People are all different. We all have different personalities. We all have different strengths. We all have different opportunities. We all have different communication styles. We all have different expectations. Part of hiring is making sure that when you are putting a team together, you are taking into consideration the elements of the current team members. That includes personality, includes expectation, includes communication style. And when you're hiring for that team, you have to get the right person that's going to fit within that team dynamic. So if you have 10 teams in your organization and they all have different members, you're interviewing for 10 different positions, right? Now, some of the skill sets and background and education might be the same, and maybe it's 10 teams of folks that are doing similar jobs, but you also have to take into consideration, what does that team look for, right? One of my best recruiters will know who are the people that they're working for. What are they going to be doing? Is that the guy who kind of grunts good morning? Or is he the guy that effusively says, hey, how are you? How's your family, right? Because how you communicate with your team is important, and it creates either division or it creates cohesion. And so when you're interviewing, you have to understand about each position individually, unless you're a widget company. So be prepared. Get ready for your interview. What are you looking for in this person? I'm looking for someone who's a good communicator, because this person interfaces with our client base a lot. And sometimes, by the way, our clients can be a little difficult. And so I really just need somebody who has a strong constitution, who isn't overly sensitive, who can diffuse verbal situations when the client is upset, because we still want to have a great relationship with this client, even if they're upset with us for this moment, and kind of define those and use those things that you've designated as important qualifications to formulate your questions. Tell me about a time when you had a difficult client. Those are so hard to navigate. What did you do? Like, how did you navigate that, right? And then listen to their answers. Are the things that they have done, because these are specific examples, right? These aren't like, if I were going to do that, I would do X, because it's very easy to create those situations. I'm asking you about times that you did those things. It's giving you an indication of what that person would do in a scenario similar at your company, right? Is that something that aligns with how you want to run your business? Is that something that aligns with how you want your customer service to be provided? So asking those questions helps you carve out, are they meeting this list of expectations I have for this role? Asking them what their ideal work environment is. Does it fit here? Because if it doesn't, you're not going to be able to put a square peg in a round hole later, right? You want to make sure it fits at the beginning. Ask them about their dynamic of their team, their organization, or their departments, so that you can get a better idea of how they worked within the framework of a larger organization, because that might mirror the framework of your organization. Does it align? Is it completely opposite of what you want in your organization? So make sure you know what you want in the job. It's more than just the job description. And also make your job description realistic. And we'll talk about that later, but that's my little plug. Putting a bunch of verbiage that doesn't tell anybody what the job actually entails, it doesn't help you and it doesn't help your candidate. Talk about what you want them to do on the job. Then they know, is this the right place for me to apply? And when you're asking questions, you know what to expect. They know what to expect of the position. I think you have a lot of resources to learn about your candidate before they even walk in the door. And I think those are good exercises. I've mentioned LinkedIn in the past. I think that's an exceptional professional resource. I think people that are involved with LinkedIn understand that, right? And I think that it gives you the opportunity to find connections that you both share, where otherwise that might be a little bit difficult to do. LinkedIn makes it very easy. And I have, on a multitude of occasions, reached out to joint connections to get a little bit of information about somebody. Typically, I do it when I'm trying to vet somebody or when I'm trying to find them versus somebody that's applied to a job and I'm just doing a background. But if I know the person, the connection more personally, and I know that they will keep this question confidential, then I might reach out. Usually I'm finding someone for my organization without them actually applying. And so I'll do that on the front end to learn a little bit more about them before I reach out to them. Do a Google search. It is sometimes amazing and also frightening what you might find out about a candidate just by doing a Google search. I had one that was reported as missing in another state, and it was this really crazy story of it was like a dramatic miniseries, and you want to know the type of personality that you're bringing into your organization, and you want to know some of the history of that professionally, right? And I think that a Google search will give you some information that will be meaningful to you. I think it will give you information about, could be court cases that somebody is involved with. So for example, why would that be important? I'm hiring this guy for my accounting department, and he's going to have some control over finances and money and transferring of funds. And I do a Google search and I find, that he's been involved in several evictions, a couple of automobile repossessions. So he's not maybe as financially stable as I would feel to be comfortable having somebody deal with my money, right? Finding somebody who has been cited in articles. I've found those too, and I've seen some people say some horrific things that would be completely counterintuitive to the type of personality that I would want to integrate into my culture. Looking at social media, there's some pros and there's some cons. I would stick to things that are published or court cases. LinkedIn is typically going to be your potential employee putting out information for potential employers to see. So I think that's a safe space to take a look at. Look at their resume and compare it to their LinkedIn. Make sure it matches. I've had cases where it didn't. And to me, it doesn't speak to honesty. I think you can put something in your resume that you don't necessarily think is applicable to an employer, not put a whole lot of description, and just say, I just want to let you know this is this 2-year gap. I was here, it didn't really apply to what I'm applying for here. I just had a baby or just moved or like whatever. But I think you want to have that consistency in their career. The other thing that I have found is I'll get a resume, and everybody does it, right? They cater their resume to highlight some of the things that they think you're going to be looking for in your position. And so there could be several iterations of a resume depending on the job that they're applying for. What generally, though, should be consistent is their work history, generally the direction of their profession. It's usually in a specific area. There's a trajectory, there's commonalities, that type of thing. And I have seen resumes that on paper look like, man, this is the person that's meant for this role. And then I go and I looked at their LinkedIn and they something completely different. Like they really just wanted to be an Avon representative, like just something completely unrelated to what it is that I'm trying to capture in terms of a professional